not say the N-word like you've been doing all day?
Yeah, you know me.
Really, Mom, you've been letting it fly.
Very upset about the barrel.
It's why you moved to the desert, so you could just scream it.
I don't think I've ever said that word in any way that wasn't literary in my life. I would never do that.
When you've been reading, like, what, Huck Finn? Would that be the literary?
I don't want to sit here.
No, sit here.
Even as a kid. Well, no, I think that's sick. That they want to, like, rewrite history and make it seem like, what is the point? It's the same thing with these kind of, okay, you want to race swap or whatever, or any swap.
Race swap?
In movies and stuff. You know, Anne Boleyn's now black, that kind of thing.
Or how every movie's like it's an Asian father with a black wife and.
No, not that. I'm talking about, okay, like this show that I liked for a minute. I can't even think. I think it was about Julia Child.
Okay.
And it was a large English woman that played Julia Child.
Yeah.
And they rewrote it. So it's the 50s, right? Post-war in America. Mm-hmm. And she gets a show. Granted, it was PBS, I think, but her producer, it's this young black woman. And I'm like, there's a lot of stuff like that would have never happened.
Wouldn't have that job. Yeah.
And so you go, well, that's great, and I get what you're trying to do, but so you're making it so that historically now any young person goes, what are these people even complaining about? They were producers in the 50s.
That's true. But then everyone gets to go like, well, there's no black people that can get that job on that show, like because it's about that time period.
I know, but if you're going to make something that's historic,
they're making an honest thing.
Although you could say none of this stuff is historic because everything basically is fictional. Mm-hmm. You know, everything's just people's memories, and anybody that writes a memoir. I mean, do you remember? You read these memoirs that have people's like conversations explicitly, like when they were 5 years old or something. Do you remember the words that you kind of make it up to get the essence of what you're trying to get across?
Yeah.
So I get it from that point of view that you can say, well, it's all fiction anyway, so let's fictionalize it. But it seems to be historically confusing for the future. Mm-hmm. Because then books are just disappearing anyway, and they can rewrite anything, AI, whatever. It's like, there's not going to be...
They can delete movies off of these apps if
everything
they
is,
don't
they
like
can
the
delete
content
us.
now.
I know.
There's certain movies that are impossible to find.
Like what? There's a lot of film noir. I know that.
For instance, like you can't find like Harmony Korine, like that movie Kids. That's like nowhere. You have to buy like the DVD somewhere.
But isn't that partly just because those are the kind of movies where they didn't get like the distribution? And
maybe, but everyone also says
like art
the movie exploited children and like a bunch of the kids.
Was that the one that was in like Seattle?
It's in New York. It's a movie where like a bunch of the kids like that were in the movie like killed themselves later on as time went on, like after the movie. But it's like they were probably gonna already. I don't think it was because they were exploited. I mean, the movie is about like how they're kind of like covering what they would have done that day anyway, a little bit.
Were they like sex?
It's like skater kids and shit. It's about a movie where this kid gets AIDS and then he like goes around giving as many people AIDS as he can.
Great.
It's an uplifting
friendly
movie. They say Chloe Sevigny's in it, and like she's kind of raped in it.
Okay.
And so a lot of people are like, so you were taken advantage of and you were actually raped on camera, but I think she's even said like, no, it was like a sex scene. And Chloe Sevigny is like a down bitch.
She was very young.
Like she like gave like Vincent Gallo like a blowjob in a movie.
Yeah, was that Buffalo 66?
Yeah, so no, that was
I hated
it was
that
called
movie.
like Brown Bunny or something.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like
a lot
Straw
of famous
Dogs,
people from BJ's.
The movie Straw Dogs you can't find. I can't find.
I saw that in the theaters.
I can't buy Straw Dogs on Amazon. It doesn't even show up on anything.
Wow.
You have to buy like the DVD somewhere.
How bizarre! I mean, it's like.
And HBO and these apps they'll delete old movies because it's a.
What was so terrible about Straw Dogs? It was just a lot of violence at the end.
Rape scene, I guess. They put disclaimers before like.
Why not just cut out the rape scene? I remember that rape scene.
They'll put disclaimers before like Goodfellas now and stuff like that on certain apps where it'll be
sure.
There's jokes in this that are not, or there's language in this that are from the time, like
they did the
a lot of
Gone with the
comedies
Wind.
from back in the day. They'll say that about.
Well, that just shows how much everybody's so stupid that they don't know that people don't know that there's this thing called history, and throughout time things are different and people speak differently, and it's. I hate where it's going. It's also
everything is
childish.
Bad. It doesn't really feel like there's a point to much.
I think you're supposed to feel that way. I think that's engineered.
It kind of just feels like you're supposed to just talk a lot of shit about everything. That almost feels like the industry.
Or not at all.
Of art, or just
not
out.
talk.
Yeah, or not say anything.
Just shut up. Mm-hmm. Sit in the back. Yeah. But the thing is, like we were talking earlier, when it becomes where, personally, I feel like people cannot, like what we're doing, sort of talk about ideas anymore, because it instantly turns into something political, or somebody will throw something in because it's so easy.
And they go, what are you a liberal or are you a Republican? Or what is the?
I don't understand.
I don't know.
How come you can't just be a thoughtful person who has different views of different things? You know, that's the thing that has most sickened me of the last like 30 odd years in terms of like what the left became. And I still consider myself a very liberal person, but I do not relate to these people.
You're an older woman that stayed like the same.
I haven't changed.
You like hate all your friends, right? I mean, like almost everybody sucks in your life. That's why you moved to the desert.
I got here by accident.
I mean,
but I have to say, I'm very.
If you meet up with
not too thrilled about mostly talking to anybody.
You got to keep. There's no point in even speaking up around like.
I've always been opinionated.
The people that get their opinions. The people that. Well, a lot of your generation, like boomers, they were a lot of. They had no investment in politics, like whatsoever.
No, not until Trump.
Completely uninformed.
And then they all went fucking off the deep
completely
end.
uninformed, and then Trump comes around, and now all of a sudden they're into politics.
Yes.
And it's like it's a 60-year-old
one of my
baby
friends
brained
went to
child.
paid money to go see James Comey speak during that time.
Yeah.
I was like.
Well, she was a big fan of Martin Luther King's assassination.
I guess she probably just thought he was hot.
Big FBI
But no, because he was doing all that shit, his own chicanery, because he had to fight for America. Mm-hmm. And it's like, really, seriously, you support all of these people, like any of these people? It's the thing that I can't get behind is that people haven't figured out yet that it's theater.
Yeah.
That's the thing that most makes me sick. I get it. I get vested too. Who doesn't? I'm alive on the world. I'm in the earth. I think something's good or something's bad. But I also know that I don't know, truly. And unless I want to make it my life work to go figure out the truth of a given thing, I just, at this point, I kind of go with everything is bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Well, everything is. Why would anyone believe in anything at this point? Like most conspiracy theories were true. You were looked at like a people, by the way,
I stopped talking to
you're
people
in a
long time
movie
ago.
This year, Eddington. There's a character that is pretty sure Ari Aster met you somewhere and used you in the movie. There's
wasn't anybody wearing a cowboy hat.
No, there's a mom in the movie that's exactly like you.
I was perplexed.
Berkey filter.
More than anything.
Sitting down at breakfast talking about how they were doing COVID test runs, before COVID started.
I wasn't
shit
that
like that
bad.
No, you weren't.
I just saw that.
But I'm saying,
it was
like
being used for something
that
wasn't good.
You're the biggest baller. You're the greatest punk I've ever met in my life. You're the only one. You never got the vaccine.
And I never was in a mosh pit
card.
either.
You had a fake vaccine card.
I did. I wouldn't use it though.
You refused to get it.
I refused to use it because that would be like signing off on the program.
You were completely right. And you were patient zero of COVID. I picked you up from the airport.
I know. Came from
and you were coughing
Ireland,
up a storm, and you were sick for like 2 weeks before it started.
Yeah.
And then COVID officially came
January
out like a month,
when I came
2
home.
months later. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to go to the doctor because I literally could not breathe anymore.
That was the sickest you ever been.
And my lungs were completely solid, and
yeah.
I was sick.
Yeah.
She gave me the stuff. Luckily, I didn't have to do steroids. And then 2 months later, we were talking, me and my doctor on the phone, and I said, because COVID by then was like the big deal, and I said, well, that must have been COVID, right? And she said, yeah,
right.
Can't ever really say, but yeah.
But they're never allowed.
And then somebody said, one of my friends who knows everything, yelled at me and said it couldn't have been because it didn't come here till this date.
Right.
I said, oh, thank you.
Because there was an official date. It came through Ellis Island. They got its name wrong. An old guy got its name wrong. Like, what? Coronavirus? What? You Corona Ellis.
Get
the fucking... They're quarantining COVID.
It was so... I just was like...
A ball germ.
And these are people that are... come on.
Yeah, I know.
You're going to tell me, and then it's like... Talk about mainlining
We knew people
all
that
of
would
your
they would say
information.
things like, "Well, the governor said
Exactly.
we should be 6 feet apart."
Yes, we got that.
The governor
Yeah.
said.
We went to
He was at French Laundry
someone's house
having dinner.
Yeah, I know. It's just, I'm not going to go so far as somebody I know who calls it FOVID.
It sucks that like
But
everything's.
it was used
Yeah.
horribly, and it was not at all anything. It was a bad flu, and like every bad flu, if you're a compromised person, it's going to hit you harder, or if you're sickly and elderly, blah, da da da. But what happened during that time is like everything that ever happens, the minute you said anything that was kind of like pointing out you weren't eating it up with a spoon, hook, line, and sinker, there was always someone who quickly said, well, my uncle's aunt's brother's gardener's daughter is in the hospital right now.
Yeah.
No, and they did say something to me about a friend.
You'd ask, okay, so what does he look like? And it was a human Dorito bag. I knew a lot of people where they would be like, yeah, they got sick and they died of COVID. And I'd be like, were they healthy? And they go, no, they were like 5,000
Yeah,
pounds.
I know.
They
I don't know anybody that actually died. And I
really
don't know
old
anybody
people,
that got as
really
sick as
old
me.
people did. I don't know. I haven't
Well,
heard.
yeah, then you had coma.
I don't think
killing
I've
a
even
bunch
heard
of them.
anecdotally somebody tell me that like they knew somebody that was completely normal and healthy that died. I don't remember hearing that at all. It was always like people with comorbidities and diabetes.
It was the worst thing I've ever seen
horrible.
in my lifetime.
It was horrible.
And people refused to talk about it. To me, it was like, okay, I'm not going to compare it to the Holocaust. That's a bit strong, but it would be like all the Nazi concentration camps were, discovered and then quickly written from history. That was a really bad fucking thing that happened. This was the most totalitarian thing I've ever experienced in my lifetime. And ever since I was a little kid, I've been really afraid. The whole word scares me because I remember, I grew up in the Cold War and that whole pounding drum and Behind the Iron Curtain and Radio Free Europe. And, they made you scared.
Yeah.
Like these were scary people. And it was World War II and ended that long. It was 7 years when I was born, and you look back on that and you go, wow, of course the flavor of everything was, of course this wasn't happening when I was a young child, but still you're hearing all of this, even as an infant, you're taking in this whole vibe of your surroundings. And my dad, as you know, was the happiest day of his life, was going to fight World War II.
He signed up for it when he was too young, right?
17, yeah. They sent him his
diploma. It's not I don't think anybody
I don't
has
think anything
any
in his life ever
patriotism these
compared.
days like that.
Yeah, and he was an immigrant child, they were, excuse me, it was that whole, all of my dad's brothers and his sisters were, just as America as you could get.
Wasn't Grandpa's brother a prisoner of war?
He was shot down over Romania and taken prisoner, came out like 20 years old. He was a tail gunner, which is like a horrible job because you always end up getting hit first.
Right in the,
Yeah, so he bailed out over Romania and was taken prisoner in a camp, obviously a Nazi camp. And I don't know how long he was there, but he also broke his leg, and I'm sure they weren't like treating it real well. And ended up managing to escape with a bunch of RAF soldiers, the Royal Air Force, that he met, and they planned this escape. I don't know too much about it. I know there's stuff written online about it. In fact, I don't know how serious that camp was or whatever. If this was The Great Escape, that movie I loved as a kid. But it was a big deal, and he came back. He came home and was like this huge hero, and ticker tape parade and the whole thing, and it was amazing. But the thing I've always found fascinating about what happened to him was that his original injury that he got as a young man basically ended up killing him in his 70s because he had been taking Advil and steroids, and he was in pain all the time. He had constant pain from it. It's just people live like that, just in pain. And he ended up destroying his liver from the taking
ibuprofen.
I remember my dad always saying, "Always take water." We know that, but I guess
right.
It's
horrible for you if you don't drink enough water. Yeah, if you just
it destroys your liver.
Yeah,
and your kidneys. I guess all of them are bad. But so I always thought that was kind of fascinating that something happens to you and then 40 years later or 50 years later, it's the thing that kind of kills you. But yeah, they were all very. When I think of that time, and of course they were just people and complicated and fucked up like everybody, but I think I always romanticized that time so much. I always thought, God, if only I couldn't have been in World War II. You know, because the
like
music,
romanticize the 50s and the 60s and stuff.
Well, no, the 40s. I don't romanticize.
No?
I miss the 60s.
The internet does.
I miss the early 60s. The 50s is a blur because I was a young child. But I remember the energy of it. And
the internet posts pictures of like the family from Leave It to Beaver, and they'll be like, "Look what they took from us."
How ridiculous!
Like
that was horrifyingly oppressive.
Like Somalian refugees
Why would anybody
raped
want
the beavers.
that back? Oh my God!
Look what they took from us.
This is what fucked
the
up
internet
my
acts like
generation.
tits stopped existing.
Tits?
They go, look what
they didn't have any porno
immigrants took tits from us. We used to have Budweiser commercials with tits and white women.
That yeah.
Yeah.
The immigrants, the feminists.
The feminists
ruined
the
it.
libs.
Can't look at tits anymore.
The lib cucks took tits away from us.
Well, some of that stuff's not to be missed.
It's true.
I mean, I don't know. I think so much is made of everything, and so much that has changed. It's really a mixed bag.
Do you have nostalgia for like the 60s and shit?
I have nostalgia for the early 60s. Like when men still wore hats.
Before they murdered everybody that was going to make change?
Yeah, they assassinated everyone when I was in junior high.
It was like four in a row. It was like all the biggest people ever.
And nobody, not one person in my world said, that's kind of obvious and fucked up. Everybody just went on, The thing I most remember, I miss being like 10, 11, 12 and just walking to the dentist myself, and not that, that's got nothing to do with it. It felt so different.
Yeah.
It felt oppressive a little at the time because it was still elevator music everywhere, and but it wasn't the modern world. It was post Beatles. Everything did start to change. It's hard not to think that there's some social engineering going on there. I'm not blaming the Beatles, but certainly an awful lot of the stuff that was happening, like around. From like 67, the Summer of Love. Mm-hmm. A lot of that was, I think, very fucked up, and they were dumping acid, and I really romanticized all that. You think it was like
CIA?
I do. I think it's a combo. I do think that there's constant changes that occur within societies. There's that pendulum. It really does swing. Mm-hmm. That's why if everything gets really, really bad, I mean, a lot of people might die while it's bad. But it eventually
massive overcorrection.
Yes, and then it goes crazy. We're in that kind of now. You have kind of an overcorrection, and then but it never stays here very long. Is the problem?
Like, and it was like how now the left, it was like trans, like LeBron James was like beating the shit out of women in like a swim meet or whatever. So we hated that so much that like trans cyborg LeBron.
He's a little obvious.
It was like a couple cases of that, and that was really annoying. Everyone's like, "The fuck is wrong with you people? You people are out of your mind."
Well, that is nuts.
From that extreme to like now we are setting up a alligator moat for Mexican families.
I feel like
everything, it's just back and forth.
Everything is a psyop.
Yeah,
it really is, and at this point, it's really obvious.
Like because the Me Too movement was so fucking annoying, which it was insane.
Yeah, does anybody even
because
talk
too
about
many
that?
men like got their lives ruined because their hand was a little too low on the back of a woman, that now we like post images.
It's really sad that, because here's the thing I like about like feminists. I was a real serious feminist when I was young, and I shopped at the Sisterhood bookstore and got all my earrings there and everything, and I was never like hardcore. I used to hear some conversations, and I've read Andrea Dworkin and all these like super hardcore feminists.
You're like a what is her name? Like Greer, like a
Germaine Greer. Yeah, she
seems like a rational one. Yeah.
But the whole point was like that's why the whole trans invading women's spaces is complex but simple to me. But it's like, women fought for a long time to have rights and spaces because women are preyed upon by men. Mm-hmm. It's not that tough or hard to see that. And yet for some PC bullshit that's not, in my opinion, a huge world problem.
No, it's
I'm
not.
sorry.
No.
It's an agenda that's being
Yes.
fomented
They're not
and fed. And
they aren't
why
a part of
do
our,
I need to
they are not
worry
a part
my
of
time
culture,
about that?
really, unless you live in a hip area in a major
I
liberal city.
had a very good trans friend next door to us. His name was, he was an Arab guy, Moroccan guy, and
I remember him.
I think it's Sabeh. He changed his
Yeah,
name to Sabeh.
and he did it
He
right.
went through the change.
He got hot.
He was incredibly
He turned
hot.
into a beautiful
Well, he was already
woman.
a very small and feminized man.
Yeah. But that's the problem. You do have to go the full. You can't.
That's the problem.
You can't stop fixing up.
You can't keep dressing like a man with a beard and expect
yeah.
women not to be fucking intimidated by you.
You can't.
With
Yes.
your giant dong.
You got to finish the house.
And they do.
You
and
have
I'm
to fully
sorry,
finish the house.
Those people do it on purpose. That to me is just predatory bullshit behavior.
There are
and
some
they should
cases
take
of
those
that,
people
yeah.
out and go, hey, you're fucking everything up for the rest of us. Because it's so obvious. Like when you turn something like that, a very personal and very really radical and sad thing, like there's a lot of sadness involved, I would think, in living like that and then truly believing in every fiber of your being that you were supposed to be this, and you go through so much physical and mental pain and the drugs they have to take, the things people really have to do in order to transition are serious.
Oh, it's a lot.
Serious.
It's crazy. I know. Yeah.
It's not some little thing you just toss around and yell in people's faces about. So that's I feel about that. It's just like, it's been a terribly misused way. Again, it's all divide and conquer. Everything is just to keep people constantly divided. And then people who think they're good people will start screaming at you about it when you know they haven't thought for 3 more seconds about it. Then they just see, well, I'm a liberal, so I'm supposed to yell in people's faces about it.
I don't even know why.
You're a transphobe and you're a phobe. And fuck off with the phobe. Get the word right for one thing. No, I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid.
Right.
You know, and so you're calling me a hater?
Yeah.
Because I have a slightly more complex thought process? It's sickening. I'm so sick of this. And that people get so immediately emotional. What is happening to you? Step back and think about who is controlling you that you're so immediately ready to like kill somebody you've known for 50 years because they said something that your program people told you.
Everyone's kind of schizophrenic now.
Well, we're programmed.
And the
we're
phone is not making
heavily
it any
programmed.
better. It's just horrible.
Everybody is. We're like monkeys, puppets on a string. We are. We're like puppets on a string. And any nostalgia I have, you asked me about my nostalgia for other decades and whatever, I've been alive. The nostalgia comes, of course, I was a child, and life is, unless you're getting raped and beaten on a daily basis, life's a lot simpler when you're a child. You know, your mom's making dinner, you may have a shitty family, but still, life's simpler, right? And so you can easily romanticize any time of life you're in based on just your own naivete, or the just discovery of life. You know, I always loved to read, and so, you know, I always had that. I always had books. It was like a real refuge for me. But my memories of past times in terms of the way things feel, and you can never know because you can never compare, because I'm 72 now, and maybe if it was 1963, I'd feel just the same way I do. I don't know, just from being 72. You know what I mean? It's hard to know. But transposing the feeling of things were still complicated, because life is always complicated. But there were some fundamental things I felt that were agreed upon. See, now we don't have any agreement on anything. Right. And so you have to at least agree to be decent. You have to at least agree to the golden rule. I mean, I stick firm. That's one of the greatest things about the Judeo-Christian ethic is you treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, if you want to be treated like shit, then I guess you can be a shit. But it's not that much more complicated to me. It's a simple thing. You have respect for all life. You know, I don't care. I let flies out. I don't kill flies. And I'm not crazy. I just don't see the purpose. I catch them easily and I put them outside.
You don't kill flies.
Oh, they go up against that window. I put a cup there and I take. They're big. I don't want to kill some bloody thing.
Well, you
know, my
them.
window would be covered in blood and guts if I did that.
Okay, if it's a vanity thing, if it's for the house,
I will kill gnats. I have one of those tennis racket things, and I do
fun.
enjoy.
It's fun to electrocute them. They are worthless. They're completely worthless.
They're made out of dust or something, you know.
The pantry moths, those pantry moths.
Yes, they're the worst.
Those
gypsy moths.
pieces of shit.
The thing about anything, like I remember as a kid, you know, when you're a kid, you are experimenting, and so you were horrible. But I have in the past cut a worm. You know, you cut a worm.
Sure, you got to see what happens.
Because they grow back. They just keep growing.
Yeah.
But some of them will have that mustard and ketchup kind of thing in them. Certain bugs.
Yeah.
And I learned early on I did not
when
enjoy.
you see the blood, you go, oh, that was it. I guess it mattered.
It has it has all sorts of things going on. They're
organs.
Just really little.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't see the purpose of any of that. But it's not because I'm some Buddhist or something. It's just, to me, there is a sort of training that goes on in life, and it starts small. And the less sort of respect or thought you have about, like I would immediately gauge somebody's character based on how they treat animals or something. Mm-hmm. You know, and they always say, oh, pay attention on a date to how they treat the help or the staff or whatever. And that generally is true, you know, but there's so many smaller things.
That is, how do they treat the help?
The help.
Like it's like, I judge slave owners on how they treat the slaves.
I remember hearing some person, it was AM radio, it's a long time ago now, and I was slogging home from work, and this guy, I have the book, I think his name was Edward Ball, he wrote a book called Slaves in the Family, and he had done a lot of deep research and realized, or he knew, and he decided to go deep, that his family had been slave owners down south, big plantation. And he started researching the reality that he had relatives, you know, from those great guys and all of that kind of stuff.
Wait, like slave relatives?
Yeah.
Oh, because of the raping?
Yeah, because of the nice, you know, whatever.
I guess.
Call it,
maybe it was
maybe not
love.
All of it was complete rape, but I'm sure it wasn't like really a fun, you know, come on, let's face
regardless,
it. If you're already a slave.
It was they had no choice. Even it's not like the woman had a choice.
Exactly.
Maybe they weren't screaming, but like.
Well, it's like Sally Hemings, Jefferson's, you know, main squeeze. She was a slave woman. I think she worked in the house, but there's a whole, you know, lineage from that woman. Mm-hmm. That and apparently, I mean, again, I haven't studied it deep, but, you know, she got to be treated better. And I don't know, maybe she was in love with him or, you know, I mean, things are complicated. But yes, he knew he had relatives and he did a deep search for them. And that's what the whole book's about. And he talks about the horrors that he learned and how universally, I mean, you know, you have something like Gone with the Wind, which just so romanticized it. God, I wish I lived into, you know, which after I went down there and I imagined what it'd be like to wear a corset, doesn't matter how pretty the clothes are. It's like, those women were slaves too, you know, like.
I'm fascinated by the Deep South. I mean,
me too.
The trip you took me on when I was a kid was the best.
It is so
thing.
fascinating part of the
country.
country.
And it's annoying because you can't tell people about your fascination with it besides because it sounds like you're like, I'm like, no, but I do think plantations are gorgeous and I want to go look at
It's not just that they're gorgeous.
They're just crazy. It's insane that was a thing. Like
it's insane.
The driveways all the way up with all the willow trees. And
it was a whole way of life for 150 years.
And then when we even took the tours, it's like a lot of the people still working there are like black people from the South that are they have jobs working. They give the plantation tour.
The South is very different. It's kind of last of Americana, whatever you think of Americana. But when you do go down south, and you know, there's plenty. A person in the North would go, why would any black person want to live down south? Well, it's their home. There's a huge lineage there, and you know,
right.
I mean, and so much of what I love about that, I maybe romanticize it, but I just love thinking about those black towns and the hot night playing blues and. You know, and obviously it's not part of my heritage or anything, but I've always felt some kind of love for that, you know. I'm not saying, gee, you need to stay poor and, you know, miserable so that I can enjoy your music or something, but I just can't just dismiss that stuff based on that it was a terrible thing, you know. But, and it is complicated because it's a very, very tiny percentage of the population that actively. I mean, you could buy a slave if you had enough money, probably anywhere in the country, I imagine. But this whole idea of this like mass, factory type plantation slavery is, my whole point is telling you about this. This guy's on the radio doing an interview, and people call in. Like a few people called in, said, "Well, my family, we're from South Carolina, and my family owned slaves, and I happen to know that they were very, very good to them."
Right.
And he goes, "Yes, every single person says that.
Right.
They all believe, like, they were all kind of having dinner once in a while, or having a picnic in the lawn.
My granddaddy wore a condom every time he raped."
Exactly. And it's like the basic premise makes it impossible for that to be true in any way, shape, or form. You don't have to actively, beat people up and flog them and everything else to be the act that you own them is horrifying enough. You don't need any further punishment. I mean, you could give them a feather bed and, but whatever, you're a horrible. And again, it's so difficult to get into these things where you start.
Don't call them horrible people. I don't want you to be called a libcuck in these
when you
commenters.
Start judging, you
kidding.
But I do believe you can't judge the past by the present. How do you do that? How do you possibly know what it's like to be a 10th century peasant? You don't, again, it's the golden rule thing. You get back down to this thing where, like, yeah, some things are horrible. Undeniably, it doesn't matter what time in history. And I think that's okay to judge. But when they go with this broad brush about history, where basically you want to kill everybody that was even alive, more or less, because, and to me, that's just a dumbness. There's a person that's never read any literature, because literature is one of the greatest ways to learn about history or anything, people's stories. And because everything's a lie too, so you just take from what you can from the story. It's like you read some history books. What do you think you're getting? Like
it's
the
not the
true
exact
story?
Accurate, I
mean, you'd be better off reading, some diary of some person that was there.
People's memories aren't accurate, so this is a memory of a memory of a memory of a memory.
Exactly. And unless you were chronicling it, and then you get into the trouble with, like, well, that person was already had a slanted view while they were chronicling
the guy documenting history,
maybe full on lies. I mean, come on, history's written by the victor, so whoever wins. So of course, the history that we've been taught, or you probably not so much, but my generation, we just got taught nonsense, literal nonsense. They would literally teach history by saying, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And then nothing after that. And then also, I remember being in junior high and still being taught how Lincoln couldn't tell a lie, and he walked 12 miles in the snow to return a library
George Washington had an apple tree or something.
Admitted to cutting a cherry tree. That's literally what they taught us as history.
Yeah, it was cute. I missed that though.
I know, wouldn't that be? Maybe they should do that again. Just tell us a bunch of dumbass stories.
Fucking cocksucker Howard Zinn had to come in and ruin everyone's fucking good time and make Columbus an evil guy.
It's really interesting, all that stuff. But a lot of people would say that, how do you run a society without propaganda? Because we're in it deep now. I was raised on total propaganda, and I see it clearly now. And it's funny because I was raised as an American child during the Cold War being told, those Russians, all they get is propaganda. Their news is on, it's propaganda.
Right.
We're here, so incredibly free and free thinking and shit. And it's like, what? And then you grow up and you start realizing, well, everything's propaganda. It's all propaganda. So at what point do you separate yourself from that? And
because I've noticed as time's gone on, you seem pretty jaded and like kind of disgusted with the glory days of
I fucking think that's
like,
terrible.
You feel like you were caught up in like a bunch of bullshit.
I don't know. I wasn't caught up in bullshit, and I think so much of what happened was necessary.
Like I remember when I was a kid, you probably really were. a wondrous thinking of like John Lennon and like Imagine and like.
I know I hated Imagine.
You hated all that?
Early on, I listened to Imagine and I was like, commie claptrap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got a millionaire telling me Imagine, fuck you.
Right.
I love John Lennon, but that was
his
stupid bullshit song, and it was ooky too.
Ugly, talentless lady, naked in bed for days on end.
Oh, her tits down to here.
She is a ghoul.
Weird little.
What a talentless ghoul.
She really is.
She
She's
sucks.
lived a long life,
and she just
dining off of his bones.
Yep.
I know. I don't pay attention to her, but people always said she was a witch. I don't doubt it. And then the Dakota, the shit you find out about the Dakota, so fascinating. Where he was murdered.
Read that book.
Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon. I read that a long time ago.
You fully believe that Mark David Chapman disappeared for a week and then came out activated and killed Lennon.
For sure.
He was activated.
Yeah, you don't have to read that much about it to come to that conclusion.
Because there's a really hasty bullshit documentary about it.
He spent time in Beirut
on HBO or whatever, and it glosses over it. And there's like 4 people that are there, and they just go, "He just shot him," and then he looked up at me, and they have like once again like no info on the guy. It was just real open and shut. Like just a crazy guy walked up to him, shot him. But you think he shot him because they were like, this guy is he's creating too much of a movement of peace or whatever?
At first I was like, and I was very deeply affected by his assassination.
Yeah.
I had to miss a day of work. People were really mad at me. Yeah, in a way, because I don't know if anybody could have the worship for Kobe.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was flawed and everything like that. It wasn't like I got my marching orders on how to live from him or anything. But, to this day, he'll always remain like a touchstone for all sorts of reasons that I won't get into right now. But just things he represented, because he was a fucked up guy, very fucked up guy, but he thought and he put his heart out there, you know?
Yeah, which you gotta admire.
Yeah, and I do think
he was a great musician.
At first I was like, no, I don't see the connection. Like it was 1980, Reagan had just got in, he'd been retired, and then his album that came out, and it was Double Fantasy, wasn't very good, it wasn't like he was all Mr. Powerful. But, that whole Iran-Contra shit was growing, the crap going on in Nicaragua and stuff. And I do think, if you think about it, it's like, yeah, why would they want him coming out starting to cause trouble again? Let's cut it off at the past.
It's just like kill all hope. Kill everybody that was a sign of hope
Well,
at all.
the bad thing is that people look to people for that anyway.
Yeah.
The fact that people pin their hopes and dreams.
But that's because people don't have time. Everyone's got a 9 to 5, right? So you kind of got to live through these other people.
I guess, but I think that's one of our big downfalls as humans.
Sure.
Our desperate need to be told what to do, or to have this idea of worship and everything. It's, you could say, well, we'd have this like insane society if everybody was just going out there. But if everybody was if you really lived in the true tenets of the Hermetic principles, or, the spiritual life, there's laws of the universe by which if you live, you'll be fine, kind of thing. And a lot of it is just like you stay out of other people's ways, and I do think there's a way to live, but how do you teach that? How do you take a bunch of people that have a million different religions and different backgrounds, and what I'm just saying here, I'm sort of going on a bad way, because part of what I don't like, what I see, is this attempt to homogenize everyone and everything. Like that's, of course, even though they do all this divide and conquer.
Smoothed out globalization of everything.
Yes, and it go across the country. Any interstate, you don't have any idea where you are, And that is a total tragedy to me,
I was in
London
I've
seen in my
last
lifetime.
Year, people said that's where they filmed The Hurt Locker. Did you know that?
In London?
Yeah. Where The Hurt Locker was filmed.
Okay, got your little joke in there.
Got my joke in. American Sniper too was also filmed in. Was filmed in London.
What is Edgetree, or what's the Edgewood studio? No, I can't think of the studios over there.
Black Hawk Down was filmed in Dublin.
Could have been filmed out here.
No, there's no Somalians or whatever out
here. They just go to Minnesota and bring something back.
Yeah, that's true. Seattle was full of them too.
Oh, really?
But I think I think it's always been like that. I don't think it was like I don't think that's like modern immigration or whatever.
I don't know. I don't even remember when that started happening. There's certain places. It's funny too, like how
the UK
people end
has
up
a way.
places.
They're going way crazier than even we are. Because we said this earlier. Like like immigration in
God, I keep burping.
Thank God we have it's like we have just like Mexicans. No, true. Like
because
they're
mostly
hardworking
Catholic.
and they're Catholic.
Yes.
They don't come with this like murderous playbook.
Right. They don't automatically
a lot of these
hate
people
us.
from
They may secretly hate
the
us.
immigrants
but
from
they
the
don't
Middle
come here to
East and
kill
stuff
us.
they're a little wily. You don't know that arm.
Slippery fucks.
That arm could turn into a machete really quick. You never know what's going on or how radicalized they are.
It is very weird and very self-deleting to invite a bunch of people to come to your country who hate your guts. You know, it'd be like inviting all your enemies for dinner and then watch them decide how to kill you. Well, that's why it's so hinky. You know, go, come on, there's something going on.
And then
here.
and then to say you're a vicious racist if you speak up whatsoever about it,
that's
even in like a rational way.
Yes.
Like, hey, what?
But that's what they got to do to that whole psyop, the psychological fuckery that's gone on for so long with people. That, you know, you're constantly told, depending on what ethnicity you are or whatnot, or what level of society you've lived at, you know, you're the reason for everything and you should hate yourself. And teaching people to hate themselves is a really easy way to, you know, have them do all sorts of what's the word I'm seeking? Like, I can't think of the words. When you don't think about yourself and you don't keep your own safety. You just do things based on, you're just so terrified somebody's going to call you a name or accuse you of something.
Yeah.
It's really a great psychological trip. You just make them hate themselves and then make them hate other people and make them feel terrible about themselves because...
It's a kind of a liberal thingy.
Yeah,
it's like almost like that a little bit. Like liberals seem to like kind of... They treat people they know pretty weirdly and they love people they've never met.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, your dad would give, you know, some hobo
He'd
the house if he could, you know. He needs it more than us. That to
it's like
me,
that scene, and I think it's either like...
it's self-hatred,
I think it's
honestly.
Annie Hall. It's the flashback to like Woody Allen's parents, like living
Yeah,
like
on
Brighton
Coney
Beach
Island.
or in Coney Island, and his dad's like the maid is stealing, but the dad's like, "What do you want? She's got a rough life. Like, let her steal." Like,
Exactly. Yeah, it's a certain mentality,
yeah,
and to me, it's just lazy. I mean, I get it because things are complicated. You know, everything's not just black and white, and it's like, well, yeah, you know. So you have this person, you know. At some point we used to ignore it. Like culturally, it was ignored that somebody had a horrible childhood, and they didn't look for reasons why people killed people or did horrible things. It just, you're horrible and you need to die. And then we've kind of, again, done this like incredible push towards, oh my God, you know, you have to forgive everybody everything because they had horrible things done to them. And
you kind of feel like we fast forwarded.
Well, we didn't correct anything.
We fast forwarded through the normality that we had built.
Well, we do this thing where we just go from one extreme to the other, but we don't change anything. They haven't changed the prison system. Psychologists are worthless.
No, abortion's
Most
still
of them
a debate.
are insane.
It'll be a debate forever.
It's like we've had psychologists for 100 years, and everybody's more crazy than ever. You know, people are insane and lost because there is like, again, there's no social cohesion. So everybody's like splintering and fracturing into these littler groups, and I don't really know how long the dominant society could even maintain. You know, how long could you go with, like, Tom and I were talking one day and he was like, oh, what's happened is, you know, ever since we used to have 2 anchor people or something, when the news came from 2 stations and everything was great. And now everything, and I'm like, because, you know, it's like, I understood what he was saying. He's saying, here, everybody, think the same. And yeah, you're going to have more social cohesion. But it's eventually going to have to break apart because it's never going to serve everybody. And there's always going to be people that see through it and always people that go, but wait a minute, that's not my experience. And, you know, what about us? What about this? What about that? Because
I think people are generally really depressed now, and even like I think young people don't feel like there's not much hope, because I feel like we live in like there's a culture of nostalgia. Like everything is just
so
based on
worthless,
nostalgia
too.
now.
It's so fake.
I mean, like, because the future is just like, what is it?
I see all those
robots, like just AI.
AIs that they're including
Even-
1950s people with
Yeah.
robots flying around.
Even fashion, like there's like no, we kind of hit the end.
Yeah.
And now it's like the fashion is dressing like you're in the 90s. And it's
What
like,
is
but
that?
aren't we?
Doesn't look nothing.
but
Fashion
no,
hasn't changed in 20 years.
Right,
or 30 years.
because I think things are over. Kind of like
Yeah.
we hit like we're literally at the ceiling.
We've gone full retard.
And so then you just kind of get you watch a movie like Dazed and Confused. You go, God, if only I was in high school in the 70s.
Yeah.
God, it would have been so. The last day of high school in the 70s.
It was
I
fun.
Pulled off
I gotta
the
say, it was
football
fun.
coach. We all smoke pot.
I climbed the Reseda Park.
We'd rob a
chain
liquor
link
store
fence
for
and
some
jump in the pool.
beer. Hit the
Yeah.
mailboxes off a house. A guy runs out with the gun. Man, imagine those.
Yeah.
Days. There was no
Well, and
school
of course,
shootings.
Everything gets down to what your status and stuff was like at that time. I mean, every time in history that we like to make nostalgic. Well, if you were a middle-class white kid, yeah, that was pretty great. That kind of thing.
Right.
Versus all these, there's all these other things that never get considered. And I'm not saying that everything has to be, go back to that. I mean, you can also get tiresome when you keep beating that drum. Because for a lot of people of probably all ethnicities, things felt better. Because we're living through madness. We're living through a collapse. Mm-hmm. It is collapsing. And sometimes, and it's scary because the empire's collapsing. But then I'll get to a place where I go, well, where else could it go? Right. I mean, it has to collapse. It's so corrupt. It's so toxically, disgustingly corrupt.
It's so top heavy too. Like,
yes.
Of course, the legs aren't going to hold this thing up.
Yes. I mean, how long are we going to just keep worshiping psychopaths and believing these people give a shit about us or have any of our interest? There's no self-interest. That's the word I was trying to think. Self-interest. That's good. You can't. It's like I haven't read a lot of Ayn Rand. If you've ever read her, but that's her entire philosophy is just stop. It's good to read. I mean, their novels are like really annoying, overwritten stuff. But
I'm reading the Johnny Cash autobiography. I really need it to be real.
The Man in Black one.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
it's great.
I thought I read that. He was great.
He's so poetic and spiritually poetic.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was a big evangelist. I mean, not an evangelist.
Evangelical. Billy Graham. He was friends with Billy Graham.
I loved that song. That album he came out with, that first one of covers. I think where he's wearing the long black
96,
and he had a couple of those songs like "The Blood of the Lamb" and I love that shit.
Yeah.
I always wanted to go to because I also love that white Southern culture too. Just that kind of.
I loved him as an older man. Almost more than some of his younger stuff, just because it's like it's.
Oh, for sure.
It's so it sounds like your grandfather singing his heart out or something. Like you just hear that. You hear the history in his voice.
Yeah, he had a lot of gravitas.
But Ayn Rand, what were you saying?
No, what do they call it?
The Fountainhead, those books?
Yeah, and I can't think of what her philosophy was called, but she grew up in Russia and was Russian, and I believe witnessed the Bolshevik Revolution and had to flee and all that. So she had a kind of first-hand seat on where that philosophy goes, which is what I feel is kind of the left has chosen that as their singular focus, which is this kind of authoritarian way. I mean, PC culture, all of that is totally out of the commie playbook. You just make people terrified to say anything. I mean, probably so many people who are in that cult are terrified. They're actually nervous. They might, because all you got to do is one wrong move, and if there's one talking point within that agenda that you don't agree with, you're out. They're all going to pile on you because they're all scared, and it's what rats always do. They try to kill the other one before anybody sees them, that kind of thing. And that's what I see. What I feel like, and I know I didn't answer your question really, but what I see the left sort of became, at least what is bouncing back at me through occasional experiences or what I might see in videos of how people behave at protests and things like that. And so many of these things, they'll be, they have those guys that go around with the mic and they pretend to just be asking questions.
Right.
Very, very frequently, they'll start talking to somebody, and they'll ask like, so, what's happening here today? And they literally don't know. Like
they don't know where they are.
It's like Byron. He's a professional protester.
He was,
and I think he did get paid. But he kept all these signs in his trunk.
So the people. This is my uncle, who I believe is homeless now, wandering the streets of Long Beach. But yeah,
who knows?
He was.
He's not dead, is he?
No, I don't know.
Ask your dad next time. I'd be
curious.
Think
Dad. I think they had to cut it. I don't know. It was becoming too much of a thing.
It's so tragic.
Like it was just.
I'm sure it's better.
Somebody never gets help. Refuses your help. Refuses like.
He would try to get help, but he would drive them crazy. He's the kind of person.
I think there's a wake of.
That would drive every
a lot of therapists
insane.
blew their heads off. I think.
Yeah, he'd have those bishops that would try to help, and then finally go, "I'm sorry, I cannot help you. You're unhelpable." Can you imagine?
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's
he's one of those people.
A lot of politics is just like people hit a certain age and they're like, I want to look intelligent, so I'm gonna have a base level understanding of politics now.
Yeah.
It's like sports for people that like never could throw, and now they're like.
You mean the regular people?
Yeah, a bunch of.
Yeah, like it makes them look. The worst thing in the world to me is a politician.
Their life's kind of over. They've settled down. So now they go. I watch the news, and they start like talking like they know a single fucking thing about it.
Yeah.
You've never cared. Never read a book.
I remember that video.
You don't know anything.
Did.
You're not looking at anything online. You're not like actually trying to find out the truth about anything. You're just
you can't do
listening to state-sponsored fucking media.
Exactly,
about
it really is, and you're just vomiting up, regurgitating. It's so sad.
And it's fun.
That you can tell immediately what people listen to.
And it's fun too, because every 4 years you get to be like, "This is the last election of our lives. If we hate our democracy, this is the biggest. It's been the biggest election of our lives.
I know,
every election.
My whole life. And it's always you have to go with the lesser of two evils.
The lesser of two.
Why
are there any evil? Why are they? Why am I voting for anyone that's evil?
Dumb comment. See, that's when I.
No one should vote.
It all jumped
If we could convince
for me.
everyone in America, election day, no one shows up.
Well, I've said that for years.
It'd be like in school if you didn't do your homework.
Yeah.
If the whole class would do their homework, the teacher can't fail the class because no one did it. But there's always a couple little fags that did it, and then so 28 people fail, and two guys get an A. And then they decide the country, those two guys.
Maybe what we could do is like have all the electrical grid go down on voting day or something and see. No, I've always said it would make no difference if nobody went to the polls because it's already kind of set up anyway. Right. And I'm not saying it like it's. I'm not trying to sound, wacky or conspiratorial, but I think it's pretty obvious that these things are extremely manipulated, and. Honestly, too, a tiny proportion of people ever vote. What does it mean?
I think almost 50% of the country doesn't vote anymore. Yeah. And then when it doesn't go the way.
Did you hear what Newsom said about how terrible it is? Like one of the things that's so terrible about the ICE raids is that there'll be intimidating illegal people at the polls.
Oh, right.
Like
there is also that. There's that liberal.
Are they supposed to be voting?
There's right, whatever that means. Well, there's liberal racism.
That was one of the biggest things he said.
They always act like they go.
Yeah, they're not supposed to vote.
There's not supposed to be. There shouldn't be like voter ID. Because because minorities.
Yeah, because they're so dumb.
They're so stupid. They don't even know how to get a license.
Yeah, how do people drive?
They don't know where the library is to vote. So they should vote from home on their phone or something. Yeah, it's too difficult.
Disgusting.
There's black people just wandering into walls.
That's one of the things I most hate. I most hate that kind of like that, touchy-feely kind of, we must protect our immigrants and we must protect our people of color. Who the fuck are you? I would be really insulted if somebody was treating me like that. Mm-hmm. Like I'm too dumb to know how to do normal things.
Right. You're a marginalized.
Fuck you! How dare you assume things based on my skin tone?
You're on the short bus.
Yeah. Well, it's true. And then the dumb things they all say, these rich idiots about how, their biggest talking point they could come up with is that who cleans our toilets? what?
Right.
That came out of your mouth? Mm-hmm. That is what these people are for? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So we should make them slaves, have slave labor and all of that, undercut the entire economy, because who will clean the toilets? I mean, I'm blown away by the lack of depth to think about that for 3 seconds. How it's just like the same way people talked about, if you go back in time a little bit, like post slavery, the years of ill treatment and lack of integration, all these things, these horrible things.
Like Reconstruction.
Yeah, the Reconstruction was horrible. And it was horrible for everybody, all these carpetbaggers going in.
No one was making their beds anymore and stuff.
Well, and you would hear even occasionally in sort of polite society, I remember hearing things like that about, like, they would talk about people in these, primarily black people, because the civil rights movement was, Cesar Chavez, had his thing and everything, but primarily the civil rights movement was for black people, and a lot of it was coming from the Deep South, where they weren't allowed to be a part of society at all. And that actually really affected me a lot too, being like in the 7th grade, and the news was nothing but young men getting blown up, and black people having hoses put on them, and German shepherds,
that had to be pretty crazy.
And these insane looking white people screaming at the people out with stick. It was so in your face. It
went from that to like soldiers in Vietnam.
Yeah, that's all you saw.
Raping
just
and killing
blown
villages,
up,
or they're smoking weed and realizing there's no
dropping
point to anything.
And it was just on all the time, And I remember having this argument with this Mormon girl I knew. Her name was Laura. I won't give her name. But we had this huge argument because she was Mormon, and the Mormon church at the time didn't allow blacks. And I remember it came up somehow, probably because of what was constantly happening on TV. And I remember being really upset by it, what I was seeing. It was very shocking to me. And so often talking with people my age and having them act like, what is your problem, kind of thing, like, who cares, and that kind of thing. Because it is really easy to forget how racist things were, and quietly still are, but I can't go into that thing where it's not, I'm sorry, it's not the same as 1960 now, okay? I don't care how much you want to believe it isn't. But it was so naked. And I remember her arguing with me about, well, I was like, why? What do you mean you don't allow black people in the church? And her reasoning was, of course, more, like they're subhuman or something. They weren't touched by God or something like that, And I don't know when they lifted that. I'm sure they did. I can't imagine wanting to rush to the Mormon church, but who knows? To each his own,
Well, black guys probably heard that you wouldn't get in trouble for having.
Yeah, you could
wives.
have 15 blonde sister wives, but no, it was that kind of thing where it separated the wheat from the chaff. Things were really clear to me at that time, and I remember it was very, very common to hear people say like really racist things. And, and again, like you could get into this thing like, well, now you're not allowed to say anything. And I think it's important that people get bitch slapped to, not talk a certain way. However, when you don't allow people to say what they really feel, you're just pushing it underground.
Right.
And then you never really know. Then you're dealing with these phonies, these people that smile in your face and don't, they just learn the right way to talk. So that's, to me, the terrible part about PC culture. You're not getting rid of the problem.
Right.
You're just driving it underground,
And then you get what we have now, where it's almost like, all right, relax a little bit with the fucking blatant, there's like blatant anti-Semitism and racism.
Exactly.
And shit
it's
online.
becoming, every other video is like black fatigue, or ghetto fatigue, or this fatigue, that now there's there's fatigue of everything. Yeah, everybody's fatigued. We're all sick of having, just fucking live your own life and mind your own business or something. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, I think if we all just started trying to heal ourselves and educate ourselves in real ways instead of just sucking up videos and listening to podcasts, no offense, because you don't ever tell anybody how to think, but so many of them, it's what they exist for, and I mean, I'm definitely growing out of all of that. I kind of like am an information whore for periods of time, and then I just get like full up and I can't take anymore. And I also start seeing through it, and I was like, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and for all of a sudden, I started seeing Nick Fuentes everywhere. I never listened to him in my life. Why am I getting those videos?
He's becoming pushed.
He's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
And he was like incredibly censored and like super crazy.
They act like they want him to run for president or something.
Probably will.
And also a lot
He's
of
really
stuff
talented.
About people tired of this drum beat or that drum beat, and you just really start to wonder. Okay, I get where they want me to go now. They're just constantly steering this giant, out of control juggernaut. Where all of the both parties, because what else is there, have their people set up, and everybody's a Fed now. Every other person here is a Fed, and and then they came out with that thing about all these Democratic influencers making $8,000 a month.
Oh yeah,
they need to pay people to do that.
Well, yeah, because they pick new like idiots online, like because they go, where are the people at? How do we get to them? They're all scrolling.
Yes.
So they hire these like young idiots on like TikTok.
All they got to do is get a girl with
Biden
big tits
or work for
who's hot and sit there and read the news.
And the Democrats, they never do it the right way. The Republicans are like, yeah, we'll get like porn stars to promote us, or like rock stars.
The way commercials have run.
Democrats,
it's
always like a 7,000-pound like Hispanic beast that like that's gonna really get people
out of touch. Yeah. They really are nerds. I used to listen to KPFK constantly, which basically was the LA commie station. I don't even know if it still exists. I finally got fed up with it, especially after 9/11 when they just. No, I guess there was a couple people that like questioned it, but it became just as PC as every place else. You're not allowed to have any kind of alternate thought to this thing, because God forbid, if you should say something, then the people with their weak minds might just automatically believe everything you say. That's what you're doing when you won't let people have different opinions or information. You're terrified that they're going to get off the farm and figure something out, so if your philosophy is so wonderful and rich and great, why do you need to keep people in a mental prison? Anyway, I'm jumping all over the place, but so KPFK, I forgot why I was saying. I loved that station for a long time. I was absolutely kind of had a pretty commie mentality about a lot of things, not necessarily naive. I mean, I think I was generally had a really good heart, but I wasn't able to. I was emotional, just like your dad still is, and that tells you everything. Like, you're very immature and you haven't thought much through. If all somebody has to do is raise a little opinion that pulls you away from your righteousness, and you don't have an answer for it, all you can do is cry and yell at them that they're bad people, then you don't have any kind of argument. But I remember going to one of the events once, and it was so sad. It was very typically kind of like the preaching to the choir kind of thing anyway. Like, what other person except the nerds listening to, and I'm telling you, this room, it was literally like the short butt. Honestly, it was so nerdy. So uncool.
Like a DSA meeting, the Democratic Socialists.
Oh my God! Oh, that's what your fucking nursery school was like.
They have a million pronouns on their shirt.
Yes.
And they all have some sort of like, I'm tired.
Personal point of and don't they do this or something?
And they snap and they all.
Because clapping is very disturbing to my autism.
Yes, they all have.
They all produce.
They all have a fake muscle disease or fibromyalgia.
Yeah, exactly. They put forward their diagnoses of everything.
Yes, yes.
When did this happen?
Yes.
It used to be uncool to be a sickly person.
No, it's like people are like really proud to be like brutally retarded.
I'm neurodivergent.
Yes, yeah.
And you know what? Turns out I probably have always been neurodivergent. But I've never, no, I have like, you know.
You have too big a personality to be.
Well, I don't know if that makes any difference. I still have a pretty nutty brain. I mean, my brain's driven me crazy my whole life, you know. I've gotten better at it because you just get so tired of it. You just go, shut up.
I feel like neurodivergent people suck, like, in social situations.
Well, I think it can also be, though, people who are, you know, overthink, you know, like what I have always done, way overthinking. And it's just this covers this broad stretch. But I also think everybody wants to be autistic now. It's a great excuse for everything, you know. And it did become, I remember my therapist even, when your dad and I were, when I was going there and trying to figure out why everyone in my life was insane except for you, or why my life was so hard, and telling her some things about because I was just becoming awake to like, I'm in a totally pathological situation here, you know, and I'd been making excuses for it for years, and that whole, you know, like, oh, somebody was really badly abused. And it's like it's my job to fix, like, what do I have that I could fix that? Mm-hmm. So I remember her saying, she goes, ask me this, that, and the other. And she goes, I have a feeling has he ever tested on the autism spectrum? Mm. And I was like, not that I know of, but you know, sometimes because it's such a broad thing now, your dad could be a little aspy, honestly. Mm. I don't think that that's entirely impossible. Not to get off on that, but very high functioning. But you know, that kind of brain where, I don't know, like some people just don't have social awareness either, but I don't know. Shouldn't go off on that tangent, but anyway, I don't know what I was talking about. The nerds. You know, people like
at the meeting.
Yeah,
at the
everybody
KPFK.
Was like a broken person, or it's
yeah.
all these underdogs, you know.
Everyone's vegetarian, which means they just eat like they eat butter pasta.
Yeah,
all day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Remember Bronwyn and yeah.
Yeah, I hated those people.
They were vegan. They just lived on sour cream noodles and.
Yeah.
Well, that evening. Come on, I wish you were older because you would have appreciated it. You were just getting beaten up and chased all over that house. But if you were older and you could see yourself back, and I have to pee, in that situation, you'd appreciate it.
They were the German family.
No, they were Australian.
The Australian family with the.
They had two
insane kids.
It wasn't the kids' fault. They raised them like wolves. They really were raised like wolves.
Yeah. I'm going to turn this off so they don't hear you ping.
Okay. Do you remember when they used to run through the school taking everybody's food?
Mm-hmm. It is hilarious how there's just this, like, you live in this little tiny haven in the middle of, like, Breaking Bad meth country.
I know. You know what? It's
the amount of abandoned like Fisher Price trucks on the side of the road where you're like, did a little kid get in a drunk driving accident and then just?
I should show you. It's somewhere that I probably wouldn't be able to find. I had a picture of. I was riding down 20th on my bike, which I don't honestly do anymore because I'm afraid of these dogs that might.
There's wild dogs, yeah.
Yeah, they're just running around.
Yeah, they followed me in a couple weeks ago.
I know, and I have heard stories. Trust me, I have heard stories of not too far from here, an old lady on her morning walk was jumped by a bunch of dogs and they killed her. And also,
what?
Yes,
really?
They catch you alone, you know. And dogs together.
What a way to go! After
can you imagine being
a whole life?
85 years old and you get mauled to death.
85 and it all. God is such a fucking asshole.
It is, and then not only that,
he kills you.
It's
a bunch
not the
of
dog's
wild
fault.
Dogs in the desert eat
and it's
you
not
alive.
the dog's fault. You know, I mean, the dogs. You gotta pity the dogs. And once they pack up, dogs are animals. You know, they're wild animals.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I heard of another one. I have these AIDS everywhere, like knee and hip. Another one down the street, but got off my bike because it was a fresh pile of somebody's probably got evicted or something, and I think it was during I call the COVID the burning times when it was like witch burnings, you know. But It was like just a bunch of stuff from an apartment, somebody who had a child.
Yeah.
And there were this sweet little boy, Little League, Little League pictures. And it was just so heartbreaking. It was like, there's a lot of what you see with these toys and stuff is because people, I think a lot of it's they get evicted or they run out because they can't pay their rent and then they just dump shit. Yeah. Literally all the kids' schoolwork, the memorabilia. It was horrible.
Well, the desert's cool, but it's creepy too.
It is. It's a
you can get away with it.
Well, everything here wants to kill you, including the people.
Yeah, I mean
it can be very creepy. You don't want to just wander around.
No, I mean it's easy to capture somebody and keep them in your home in the middle of fucking nowhere.
I hate thinking about stuff like that.
Didn't you? Were we talking about like there's murders that are just completely unsolved out here? You just kill a guy?
All over. Listen, I told you about this kid. I watch his channel. He's like knows what he's doing. He's got a Jeep and all the equipment and a gun. Joe and I are going to go up to where were we?
You're gonna go kill a guy?
No, we're gonna buy a gun. There's a place in up near Kernville, near Sequoia, where he wants to go. Because I kept saying, let's get a gun. I mean, I don't feel an urgency, but I feel like we should get a gun.
Sure, yeah.
And so, especially for the collapse, when the thundering hordes come out here and try to, like, storm the gates of... which is all, 5 foot high wall or something?
Yeah, I mean, they were the gates were broken today.
I know. Well, Tom was over here and he comes in and I said something. He goes, "What do you have a ring for? You live in a gated community."
Funny. Yeah,
it's like, I don't live in a gated.
It's not a gated community.
How is this gated? Any bozo can come in. No. But so I was gonna say, so this guy goes all over the West. The Mojave is huge. There's so many off-roads. Like you just go up there near Rosamond and there's the Silver Queen mine and you can still tromp around there and there's still a wreckage of these very old mines and you can go backcountry and off these side roads and stuff and often find like an old miner cabin and stuff like that. And that's what he does. And he refuses to give people the coordinates because he says, nobody that isn't equipped like I am or doesn't have a gun should ever do this because you have no idea. There's all sorts of desperados in the desert, you never know what you're going to stumble on. Mm-hmm. Not to mention all the other things that, or just having your tire blow or getting stuck out there. People all the time die in Death Valley.
What was the
You ever been to Death Valley?
Yeah, I think so.
I love it.
Your sister, when they lived in outside of Tucson,
in Sonoita, everybody would go there and
Nogales?
Sonoita. Well, Nogales, yeah.
And wasn't there that rancher guy that like got killed by the cartel?
Oh, yeah, I don't think that's that unusual.
And we used to take hikes and walk around, and they'd say if you see like a bag of money, just don't even act like you saw. Or if you see a bag, just move on. Don't look at anything.
It's really not even safe
because people are watching in the mountains.
Yeah. Think of that. It's like we live in this world where it's true. Up north, I don't know if it's still like that, but you'd wander through a forest. You better fucking be careful. You come on somebody's big pot farm and they're going to just shoot you. Mm-hmm. All sorts of these things that like are just hidden from us because we're not, I don't personally like listening to true crime. I don't like that in my head all the time, right? Mm-hmm. But the truth is, the world isn't at all like what we think it is. But then again, I do believe, and again, it's kind of a spiritual hermetic principle in a way. Like, I do believe the world is a reflection of us, let's face it, there's some people just, like a person like Byron, like what's going on with him? Just can't get his shit together, has an extraordinarily negative, stunted, doesn't ever seem to grow, mature, think deep about anything. I'm not saying he doesn't think deep ever, but then there's people that like almost live magical lives. And I don't think it's because they're, especially gifted or something. I do think there's our minds or our beings, I do believe at this point in my life, even though I don't practice it like I should, that we are we have an etheric body. I believe we have a soul. And I believe that I had this actual experience when I was on mushrooms. So, okay, I know I was on mushrooms. I had mushrooms and MDMA. It was in a therapeutic setting. And as I was coming, I was on a waterbed of all things, and I was just like doing this. It's very physical.
Yeah.
As you come on, and I kind of felt myself briefly, very, stupid, pretentiously, as a dolphin. I felt very free, and I just got freer and freer until I was suddenly I saw myself. I was just a sort of a star in the sky, a black star, and I felt very desolate. I felt like this immediate feeling of, oh God, I'm so there's nothing, and then suddenly that feeling switched, and I was, it felt like beyond blissful, just the most. I felt like, I get it. I see what we are. That's what we are, and we're like light. We're like a 1940s movie about heaven, where you're the blinking, what's his face, Clarence, in It's a Wonderful Life. And then you're for some reason, you either get trapped or you come back or you want to or whatever, and then you just reincarnate, and there is some kind of weird fucking thing going on here. And so I suddenly had a birth experience where I felt myself taken, like I was finally, I went from feeling desolate to like, oh, this is heaven. I'm just consciousness. I felt like I'm just consciousness. I don't have any emotional, there's no attachments, there's nothing. I just am living consciousness. And then I was slapped down, and I was born, and I was surrounded by my Lebanese relatives, very 50s. They were all, the ladies were wearing the 50s dresses and the little hats, and the men were suits, and they were all kind of dour and not nice at all.
Why you smile?
Yeah, what did you smile for? We
do not smile.
And excuse me, and then it moved on, with it's just like dreams. How dreams are just unfold, and I've tried writing them down a million times, but I don't even know if that's the point. I don't know if you're supposed. I think you're just supposed to like take the essence of them and feel it. But I couldn't help but feel like I had a second of, like I saw what it is, what it really is. And the sad part is it's so hard to put it down back into your daily life, because you're still emotional, physical. You got to shit, and you have your leg hurts, and you got to take a bath, and you're just a slave to your physicality, that you can't escape. And so no matter how much you try, you seem to get pulled out of the reality, which is that, I do feel like if you can get to the point where you're able to let go of some of that physicality and emotionality and all of that stuff, and you can just be, you can experience what I think, humans could be like. And I do believe we could be very powerful. I have never tried. I'm not disciplined enough, to do the things that you can do, people, those guys and the gurus in India that, I think they probably really do levitate. I think there's all sorts of things that people really can do.
There's those Indian guys that know how to get their heartbeat so low that they're essentially dead, right?
There was a girl that did that. I remember this very well. I think it was the 70s or the 80s, and that dumb show, The Bionic Woman, was on. And I remember Lindsay Wagner was the actress's name, and I remember her going on TV and being so excited that some young girl, she'd been stabbed repeatedly, and she survived by doing what she'd learned on The Bionic Woman, which was that. So she consciously slowed her breathing and stopped bleeding. So she didn't bleed out as quickly? Yeah, so she's... Wow. And... I wish I should look it up, because I remember it really struck me. I was like, wow. And she was like in tears, like, I can't believe that this dumb show I do,
right?
Had this effect for this girl, But yeah, there's Tai Chi masters that can throw you across a room by,
that thing.
Focusing their energy. Not Tai Chi, but Qigong. And I love all that stuff, and I've dabbled in it, but I never, I don't have the discipline. I don't stick. Because you kind of have to devote your life almost. You're like, stop talking to me. I'm, concentrating my chi.
Yeah. It's a lot.
You do. You kind of. It's better, I think, if you do that. That's your life. You know, live alone. Work on your chi.
Yeah.
It's not in this lifetime. I guess I'm not meant to do that, but
people that spend their whole lives like thinking about the next always makes me sad. Like religion in itself, like being,
right, doesn't matter what you do here.
It's just like, well, then what's the point? What you're? It's almost like you're disrespecting this current moment.
For sure.
What are you here for?
Yeah,
then?
well,
you're just
this
terrified
one sucks.
and I need to go to heaven, so no fun, no cursing, no nothing. No.
Well, what about the people that at a funeral will walk up to you and go, "She's in a better place."
Right.
How the fuck do you know?
If that's the case, why don't we all blow our heads off
exactly.
right now? Like, what are we talking about?
It's all, everything like that. It's the stuff that people don't think very much about, obviously, or they wouldn't say stuff like that. I mean, honestly, death is so overwhelming, and it is, the less said, probably the better. I mean, you have to acknowledge people's pain and everything, but like when people just end up minimizing the impact that the grief of losing someone you really genuinely love. I mean, people die all the time and it's sad, but come on, let's face it, does it really change your life, affect you, you know? But there's a lot, all this glibness surrounding the topic where, you know, heard it my whole life, like people will just say these dumb things. It's either religious or it's they really think they're making you feel better by saying, I mean, just shut up. Like, why not just say,
you should go after.
Sorry for your
when
loss.
You're at a funeral, you should go up to somebody and go, hey, who fucking knows?
Yeah, exactly. Who the
Put your
fuck
hand
knows?
on somebody sobbing and go,
Yeah, like,
hey, we have no clue.
We have no clue. Might be in hell right now.
No clue where they
Your
are.
relative that you loved.
It all could have been for nothing.
It's an interesting topic because I think there are some things somewhat known. They obviously
one of the
can't
sillier
be
things though is
scientifically-
like that we're here for absolutely zero reason, and that it's all a mistake. That's
Tom.
That's as absurd.
We
as
argue all the time
That's
about
as absurd as believing in like a wonderland in the sky, kind of. I mean,
yeah, when you're a total materialist, and that's Tom. We have arguments once in a while.
Well, the Jews are interesting because they have like this religion that's like kind of a race, but they don't even believe in anything. They're like really practicing about nothing. Like they have no belief in a God, really.
Well,
they don't believe. They don't. You ask them, get to the heaven part, and they don't even know what the fuck they're doing. It's about like
I guess
wine
I'm not really sure about what it is. A lot of rituals
and rituals and stuff.
Tom and I went to our neighbors.
It's about like discipline.
I get.
Or
well,
something.
It's worked well for them. Tom and I went to a wedding of our neighbor when we lived on Kelton in Westwood, and it was back in the very early '80s. And he was never a practicing Jew, but he's very much culturally a Jew. And I'm sure it informed who he married, everything, And so it was a very long, very Catholic. They were from Switzerland, and it was this, the total package. Like, I think it's like 3 hours long or something. It was kind of interesting. It was a sweet little old church in Westwood, and people sat on either side so that everybody was in here. And I remember him like sort of sitting there really defended. And he acted like I don't know, like he was at some satanic ritual or something. And he turns to me and he goes, "This is all like black magic." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." I mean,
What? Because it was
because they went through all these rituals. And I'm like, "Have you ever been to a temple?"
Right.
It's nothing but rituals and dancing around the scroll and the boobada-babada. I mean,
Can you come turn my oven on? Because I can't use my oven today or whatever the fuck.
It's no less ritualistic, I can't even understand why you would say that. I get that maybe it's spooky to you, but like I was raised in the Syrian Orthodox, and luckily everything was mostly in Arabic, so I wasn't like getting that brainwashed, I guess. But and the Orthodox religion is actually very
thank God
pretty and interesting.
We're Christian Arabs, not the Allah ones. Thank
God.
The
Allah ones?
And then explosions happen and stuff.
It is weird. And it's funny because it's interesting to think, I'd never done deep research, but was a very small minority the Lebanese Syrian Christians.
Right.
And they've done a good job, I guess, of completely driving what's left. I always would ask my Jiddu stories. I always wanted to know, and none of these people would ever. He was just like, just get a job, be a secretary, shut up, whatever. And just, it's sad because I was the only person in my family that was ever curious about any of this. I'm the only one that went to Lebanon. I found it all fascinating. I'm glad I went. I mean, it was a really hard experience, but I saw a world that was gone now, that'll never be back. I mean,
because of Israel, yeah.
Well, not just Israel. I was like in an ancient village. Israel has helped destroy Beirut, and then they had their civil war. But when you just destroy a country and weaken it to the point, of course, that's what ends up happening. You destroy it all over here, and then the people start fighting each other. And who the hell knows? See, the thing is too, like with that situation, what little I really understand about it, within like the Lebanese civil war, within that structure was this minority of Christians, but they were the educated people, the one that ran everything. So of course you're going to foment a lot of animosity when you have the majority of the population has a completely different religion, and these other people are running it, which made Lebanon a much more Beirut was very cosmopolitan. They called it the Paris of the East.
Right.
Everybody in my family spoke French and Arabic, and it was just kind of like a lot of it was just a class clash kind of. And so I don't know when it started, why they started driving them away. I don't know. I guess people just can't stand it when you don't do exactly what they think you should do or believe exactly. So what? You're still doing that? No. Out of here.
It was probably pretty hard being the middle child girl in
I was like meaningless
in a Lebanese
I might
family.
as well have been a large turd. Okay, it's a little exaggerated, but
they can't
seriously,
believe that you ever like make jokes or talk.
I was just considered
all
just
those
an
old
annoying
farts at the
person, a
fucking
big mouth
family.
idiot.
Yeah.
And I look back on that and I go, boy, you missed out. Because honestly, even my dad, I was thinking about this the other day. It sounds so pathetic, but I was in drama in the 8th and 9th grade. And I was really good at hammy comedy kind of stuff. Patty was the lead actress in Taming of the Shrew. I could have cared less about any of that. It's just, I was like Charlie Chaplin or something. And so I got the part as like one of the smallest parts in the play, which was playing one of the servants when Kate comes to the, the castle kind of thing, if you've ever seen The Taming of the Shrew. And I took this role, this little nothing role, me and this girl, Carol Carmichael. I'm like 5 feet tall. She's about 5'10". She's blonde. I'm dark. And we just had this like comic connection. We were so great together. And Patty comes in, she's the queen and she doesn't want to be there and she's at the table. And I started just doing this, like what they call business in the theater. They call it business.
Yeah.
Us theater people know this. And out of nowhere, I just started making shit up. And so I started picking my nose and then I was putting it on her. And I was just being like, just disgusting.
Yeah.
Ask Patty. The people that were leads of this place hate me to this day because the talk of the town was this hilarious performance by Bev Baz. It's like 5 minutes, and then Carol and I get into it.
Dude, what a name! You really should have been.
Well,
in
I went by. I
showbiz.
had to go by Beverly back then.
Bev Baz.
It's a
Beverly.
cartoon name. I hate the name Bev.
You're a black
not
woman.
My name.
We had a black family all over. Dad's name is Daryl.
Coltrane said that.
I'm Devan, and you're Beverly.
It's hilarious. Is Beverly really a black name anymore?
I think so, isn't it?
No, I don't think modern.
I don't.
It's a weird
Who the
name.
fuck is named Beverly Modern?
It means that's a terrible meaning. Like everybody's got this name that has this wonderful meaning. It's an Anglo-Saxon man's name, meaning he who dwells in the beaver meadow. It's literally a beaver hunter.
Yeah.
like Anglo-Saxon, like 10th century
That's a weird
beaver
one.
hunter wearing loincloth. Beaver, probably.
Yeah.
He had a giant
Fur
beaver.
trapper name.
He just had a big beaver in front. They don't use that word anymore, do they?
Beaver for
Yeah,
pussy?
women's muffs were called.
It's a good one to bust out occasionally because it sounds
people
so
go,
funny.
beaver shot.
Yeah, but that's like more of a it's like a John Holmes.
Why was it ever called that though? Think about it.
Because
what's with the teeth?
It's for hairy.
That's what you think of
it's
when
like a hairy pussy, like the beaver, the hair.
The first thing you think of with a beaver is the big teeth.
Maybe it was a massive.
That's
Maybe it was
scary.
like a weird clit.
I remember hearing stories, these horror stories about Vietnam, like soldiers would tell these stories, which I don't know if any of them were true, but there was always one called vagina dentata. Well, vagina dentata is a thing where the vagina has teeth. It's like a male fear or something.
Yeah.
But they would say, oh, the horrors would put, razor blades inside themselves and cut you all up. How do you get a razor blade up there without cutting yourself up?
I don't know.
I mean, they used to also tell us when I was in junior high school, the hard girls had the beehives and the white lipstick and stuff. If they lived in Pacoima, especially,
Pacoima.
the Chicano chicks.
Yeah. Pacoima's right.
They had all these stories circulating about how one of them, she had a beehive, because they would keep their beehives, they would rat them up high, and then you wouldn't take it down because it'd be all sprayed with Aquanet and stuff. Mm-hmm. That one of them had like black widow spiders growing in it that killed her. And then there was some more about like if you were playing against a Mexican team and you had earrings on, they would rip your earlobes off, and they had all of
right.
And
yeah.
if you
in a fight, grab the earring.
Yeah, they do horrible things to you. And also razor blades. They keep razor blades in their beehives. Mm-hmm. And don't ever go to the Jack in the Box in Pacoima because they will pee in your secret sauce. They see a gringo coming and they will pee in it.
Okay, that's probably true.
Yeah,
to
this
some
was
extent.
the world that we moved to when I was in California.
And you moved from Toledo, Ohio, when you were how old?
9.
And you and the family moved to
a shitty dingbat apartment, Pepto-Bismol dingbat apartment
to Tarzana.
On Victory Boulevard. Well, it was Reseda, the part where we were
right.
We were like north of Victory. Hello, Joseph.
Hey, Joe.
Oh my gosh, I was so happy to see your.
How you doing?
No, I didn't know.
I didn't know.
So,
oh yeah.
I'm so happy to see.
What are you dragging?
I guess I'm gonna turn
Body?
this off.
Oh, okay.
Love you.
I love you too. I love you.
Oh my God.
Hey, we went to
We'll do it again.
Cactus.
We'll get hammered next time. We'll
Yeah,
have a really
let's.
wild one.